Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone, starring Dr. George Touliatos. Dr. Touliatos is the author of Bodybuilding, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, available at his website, gtool.com, gtoul.com, as well as on amazon.com. He's also a contributor every month to Muscular Development Magazine. He's contributed to William Llewellyn's Anabolics, many other books and publications. Please welcome from Athens, Greece, Dr. George Touliatos. How are you, George?
Excellent, sir. It's been raining over here now.
Raining?
How's the weather over there?
Oh, we got great weather. I want to wish a happy Memorial Day to all the Americans out there. This is a pretty important holiday. We all have the day off today, sort of. But remembering fallen heroes that have, lost their lives fighting for their country and everything. So
yeah, there was a post by Jay Cutler on his Instagram.
yeah, I mean, I should probably.
Is this the Veterans Day?
We also have a Veterans Day. We have a few different holidays that are kind of similar, but this is the big one, Memorial Day, because we make a weekend out of this, and it also sort of marks the beginning of summer for us unofficially.
Yes. So it's a day off today? It's
Yeah.
a day off? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, people that work like regular jobs, yeah. Like banks, most people have today
Yes.
off.
Public services, yes.
But we're doing this, we're doing our thing, and we got some great questions. The first one is a long one, so sit back and listen, doctor. This came from a guy on the Muscular Development forums, calls himself Lehnner Lehner Mag. Hi, doc. What is your opinion on sleep supplements? Which are effective and safe to use long term? My sleep periodically is really bad. Sometimes I have trouble falling asleep. Sometimes I wake up often. I'm on testosterone only. Problems existed before, so I don't think it's related. I do smoke weed 3 to 4 times a week, only one joint, 4 to 5 hours before bed to relax after work in the gym. I've tried ashwagandha, HTP5, tryptophan, melatonin, each for about 2 months straight, no effect. Except melatonin, I've tried that one only for a few days because it's supposed to help immediately, correct? No effect the days I've used. I've experimented with dosages between 0.5 and 10 grams. The only supplement which seems to help are over-the-counter sleep aids, meaning antihistamines like diphenhydramine and doxylamine. However, these are not supposed to be used long-term, so I try to use them twice a week max. Stronger things like benzos I think are out of the question. My sleep hygiene is pretty solid. Dark room, cool, blue filter on screens before bed, so no real room for improvement there. I've also tried acupuncture, also no effect. What is your recommendation? Is there anything I can take safely long term to enhance sleep quality? Very important, because if you're not sleeping well, your life is a wreck.
Yeah, you're recovering, you're not growing, and sleep is the number one rejuvenation thing. And I consider sleep is more important than nutrition in order to feel energetic.
Yeah.
No matter how good you eat, if you are not sleeping 8 hours straight, then you're lacking of energy, and your training is gonna suck.
Yeah.
So this is an important question because I always face stomach disturbances, and many people do so. Personally, I recommend the supplementation, and because I was also addicted to codeine as a painkiller, and also helped me to sleep. But the withdrawal symptom is horrible with these opiates that also have other side effects that suppress the respiratory center. You may pass out from this,
Oh, wow.
like Elvis or Heath Ledger or Michael Jackson. And benzos, generally, yes, these drugs give you hypogonadism as well. But now to this guy, I assume this guy is working out because he follows replacement therapy, right?
Yeah, and he's posting on muscular development. I would hope he works out.
Yes. Now, in case he follows TRT and he works out, I assume he also uses stimulants, pre-workout. Therefore, this is the major factor that stimulates adrenaline rush and cortisol, that they are the stress hormones, and they are not able to let you sleep. And we need a window of at least 6 hours, so midnight, 6 p.m. or 5 in the afternoon, in order to get rid from the system the caffeine and all the stimulants, octopamine and ephedrine and whatever this is. Therefore, I want to ask this guy if he uses stims pre-workout. If he does, he has to quit them at once.
Wow.
Drink one black coffee in the morning, AM, early AM, okay? And preferably do the workout before the afternoon in order to get rid of it, and then sleep naturally as the day proceeds. Because in the morning we should be alert. That's why cortisol is up in the morning, in order to get out and find food from the ancient years. And then cortisol is supposed to downhill until night, along with night. Cortisol, of course, is the hormone of sleep, and low cortisol equals with no alert state. Yeah. Moreover, we have to quit and get rid of any kind of light that comes from iPods, iPhones, TV set, or electricity, because in this way we cut off our melatonin that is supposed to be produced at night. This is why in the airplanes we use this black mask, like the Zero mask, that is supposed to do it's black totally, and our brain, the pineal body, starts to produce melatonin in the dark. So this is the natural sleeping process, to be alert with cortisol in the morning, and then when the light falls down and the sunset, then we're supposed to produce our melatonin. But unfortunately, the modern man makes the night day. Okay. So the supplementation is pretty solid. That I would add also GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, that is supposed also to introduce you to the sleep, and also magnesium is very important. That's why ZMA is introduced before, in order to, as a skeletal muscle relaxator, okay? Yeah. Makes you feel more loose. 5-HTP, 5-hydroxytryptophan is also very good because it metabolizes to serotonin, and it's more effectively than using a pure tryptophan. 5-HTP is faster metabolized. Now, melatonin can be accommodated, and you can increase the dose because it's very early customized, and you have this kind of tolerance. Therefore, personally, I have reached up to 20 milligrams of melatonin, which is a large dose. And in this case, you may feel lethargy and also hypotensive. If you want to get a pee, you may feel you want to faint because it's responsible for relaxation of the blood vessels, and you feel hypotensive. So yes, it's melatonin, it's 5-HTP, it's GABA, it's also magnesium, quit stimulants, cut off any kind of light and blue light, the blue light from all these apparatuses.
Yeah, I mean, good luck getting people off their phones.
Yeah,
good luck.
There is a filter of blue light in the
settings. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good to know.
And of course, wake up early in the morning and do not sleep midday or in the afternoon, because in this way you take off hours from your night's sleep, which is the best. 11 to 7. This is when you're supposed to release GH during the REM, the rapid eye movement sleep, when you watch dreams, and also when also LH and FSH synthesis takes place. So also testosterone production.
See, we often advise people to take naps, but I found personally, I think a lot of people find if you take a nap during the day, it does make it harder to fall asleep at night when you're trying to.
Well, some people in multi-ethnic companies take a nap for 30 hours after the lunch, because you feel
3 hours.
No, 30 minutes.
Oh, 30 minutes. Oh, they're like the siesta.
Because if they work 8 to 5, they take lunch at 1 or 2 p.m. and then they close the black curtains and they fall asleep as opposed to relax for 30 minutes, if you're able to. But if you apparently if you drink a lot of coffees, you're not able to do this.
Do they do that in Greece?
It's a matter of lifestyle. Sorry.
I said, do they take? I know Spanish countries like they're the one they call it a siesta, that midday short nap. But are there any countries around you that do that?
Yes, it's very old-fashioned to sleep in the afternoon in Greece. Also, yes, that's why we're supposed to shut off all the the constructive things and from 2 to 5.
Oh wow!
In order to take a nap,
That's great.
They're very lazy over here.
Oh, I wish we could tell people to stop running their lawnmowers for 3 hours every day.
In the States, no way.
Okay, next question. Here's a good one. How much time should I wait between starting my cutting phase from bulking? Do I need to do a PCT for some time? Or can I go right from my bulking cycle into my cutting cycle?
Yes, this is a good question because many people tend to rebound. So after the cutting phase, they switch directly to drugs and nutrition also, and then you suck up every kind of food. But apart from this, also, of course, the insulin sensitivity is very high. All this time of dieting improves the insulin resistance.
Yeah.
But also switching the drugs, and this is kind of risky because you're supposed to follow 12 weeks of hard drugs, okay? And then switch them. But hardcore bodybuilders do so. And they switch them, for instance, testosterone and testosterone suspension, they switch it after to sustanon. And then from Anavar and Winstrol, you go to Dianabol and oxymetholone directly.
Yeah.
And also the low carb, the high carb diet, and the high calorie diet, and also you administrate some fat, also good fats. And in this way, you take advantage of the anabolic, not the anabolic, the anti-catabolic environment that also, there is a lot of gear during cutting phase that's supposed to protect you from losing muscle, okay? But this gear, afterwards, it is already in the system for 1 or 2 weeks. And you take advantage of this along with food, and then you introduce also gear for the off-season, which is supposed to do also water retention. Now, after the show, the body fat is pretty low. It's about 5 to 6% or even 4%. Yeah. And so you start to do lean gains because you're already very shredded and lean. So you are able to watch out and observe lean gains that occur week by week. Therefore, you're gonna observe the whole process much more better than starting with a body fat of 10%. Okay, and yes, this thing about a PCT, I don't think it's very wise to do because you're already after 1 month you're gonna restart your other cycle, and then the HPTA will be shut off. The only way of introducing a PCT, I think it's to give a rest from your steroid receptors, okay? Yeah. And maybe kick off a little bit your Sertoli cells and your Leydig cells, but endogenous testosterone production needs a lot of time in order to restart again. Yeah. So it's not just a button to switch on and switch off.
So, Doctor, I guess my question would be, a cutting cycle. If you're competing if you're prepping for a contest, say it's a standard 16-week prep. Personally, I can say, and I think most guys would say, we use a lot more drugs getting ready for a contest than we do when we're just building in the off season. At least twice the amount of drugs, volume, and
different kind of drugs, DHT derivatives mainly, and drugs that do not aromatize. But these drugs are dry drugs and are supposed to preserve muscle, anti-catabolic state. There's no anabolism because insulin is low and calories are also low. Right. And of course, we do not need any estrogens. Estrogens favor water retention and muscle growth during the off season. Yeah. So it's a different state, biochemical state.
But I'm saying, being on a heavy cycle for 16 weeks, I always felt like I should take some time off after that before I went back on any drugs.
Detox and clean up, and yes, this can take also for 4 weeks time period or 8 weeks. And some people do veganism, but frankly, you're gonna lose all the benefit and the gains. And
true, but I just personally would be afraid to go right back into Anadrol and Sustanon and all that right after 16 weeks of Masteron, Winstrol, all that stuff.
Now, there are guys who take shows every 2 months.
Yeah.
They have to do this, and as a matter of fact, right after the show, they have 2 months. So the first 4 weeks, they do a rebound with off-season drugs.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a big stress, of course, and your labs are quite messy.
Yeah. But that's somebody who's doing this that's their job. They're professional. They're taking a certain risk because this is what they do for a living. But for those of us who aren't ever going to make a penny from competing, I would personally want to take some time off.
I think it's you get toasted with this yo-yo, up and down. Food, a restriction of food, watery drugs, dry drugs, instead of going in a straight way all the way.
Right. Okay. Next question for you, doctor. Can you talk about HDL and AAS? Indeed, anabolic steroids lower the HDL a lot. Is this really a problem, and how should we deal with it?
Yes, of course. This is a classic question. We have mentioned it before. For instance, 17-alkylated stanozolol, winstrol, is capable of lowering HDL to 50% within the first week.
Wow.
And HDL is supposed to be the good cholesterol that cleans up the endothelium of the arteries. However, also lowering a low LDL is also is important. And as a matter of fact, steroids boost LDL to super high three-digital values of, for instance, 200.
Yeah.
It has to be below 100. And also the eject total cholesterol also very high, up to 300. Now HDL, another reason it gets low is because when we use the 17-alkylated supposed to be cutting drugs, we also want to use aromatase inhibitors, not because of the estrogenic effect, but because to look even more dry. Therefore, we accompany arimidex or femara or aromacin, so letrozole, exemestan, and anastrozole with this, and these are responsible of lowering estrogens, and estrogens are also responsible for the good aromatic profile. That's why women, they do not have as much heart attacks as men before menopause.
Wow.
Now, in order to, as I told you before, HDL is very stubborn, does not listen very good, and it's very slowly to increase it by low-pace cardiovascular exercise, quit smoking because nicotine lowers HDL, and also use plenty of fiber, essential fatty acids. Niacin is promising, but up to 10%. And they give some hope to cardarine, which is the GW SARM, and it's supposed to boost 10% the HDL and 20% lower the LDL. And William Llewellyn mentions this in his anabolics book. And some people, of course, with genetic predisposition are prone to have higher HDL over 50. Personally, my personal best was 48 ever, which is something not super high.
Yeah.
And yes, within a steroid cycle, HDL varies between 10 and 30.
Okay. But I mean,
Some
it's
have single digit after a steroid cycle.
I mean, it's always, while you're on steroids, it's always going to be much lower. So there's really.
And statins do not increase HDL. This is the pity, that they affect LDL in total, but HDL is something different.
Yeah. So they don't really, like I'm on a statin. I take 10 milligrams of generic Lipitor. So that helps lower my LDL, but it's not doing anything to increase.
Yes, and
anything from HDL.
The cardiology has the special formula that evaluates the atheromatic index. This is the result of HDL and total cholesterol. It's not LDL. Therefore, it is very important to have an HDL close to 40.
Okay. Cool. All right. Next question. Please talk a little bit about left ventricular hypertrophy induced by steroids. Besides high blood pressure, do you think it's more likely caused by higher androgenic steroids, say test, and less likely caused by higher anabolic ratio steroids? And he said anadrol, but I think he meant to say anavar. It also seems that high IGF-1 plays a huge role in developing LVH. So I guess he wants to know, are certain steroids going to be more prone to cause LVH than others?
Now, as a matter of fact, left ventricular hypertrophy is the result of anabolic steroid use and resistance training. The intensity, because heart is a muscle, and reacts to steroids because it has also androgenic receptors. And by lifting high intensity, mainly by heavy loads, leads to left ventricular hypertrophy. I also myself had left ventricular hypertrophy up to 13 millimeters. The highest normal is 11 millimeters. Okay. And in order to lower this, there are certain ways. First of all, to lower intensity. Second is to perform more cardiovascular exercise, because thicker ventricles in modern cardiology result in smaller volumes inside the ventricles, the ventricles. And this simply means that when the heart pumps the myocardium, the stroke volume and also the ejection fraction is lower. Therefore, the amount of blood that's released to the periphery from the aortic arch is lesser, okay? Apart from this, a thicker left ventricular wall and intraventricular septum also, of course, required more oxygen supply. Therefore, you may be more prone to hypoxia. Hypoxia and, of course, I'm not saying heart attack, but you have more needs for oxygen, your myocardium. Now, about IGF-1, IGF-1 leads to organomegaly. That means heart enlargement as a whole, as an organ. And this is called cardiomegaly.
Yeah.
Okay? And of course, GH and IGF-1 as a result of this. Now, the left ventricular hypertrophy is a classic phenomenon based on heavy weights and anabolic steroids. Okay, now hypertension can also lead to this, to left ventricular hypertrophy. That's why people with left ventricular hypertrophy tend to be hypertensive by lowering blood pressure and by lowering intensity. Also, you have a thinner left ventricular wall. Also, beta blockers that tend to lower the submaximal heart rate and intensity. They are promising to lower, but in this case, you may have side effects to mood, to libido, and also if your heart rate is already low because of your cardiovascular physical activity capacity, it's kind of risky because if your heart rate is close to 60, because you're going to have even lower heart rate. So beta-2 blockers, antihypertensive drugs, minimize anabolic steroid use, and TRT is not responsible of this, of course, but TRT is within 150 milligrams per week. And the growth factors are responsible for the enlargement of the whole organ. So Dallas McGarver had a heart of 600 grams.
Yeah.
Andreas Mutzer the same. Also Rich Piana, I think 800 grams.
Wow.
It's almost 1 kilogram. And the heart is supposed to be 350.
Wow. 800. Wow, that's enormous.
Yeah, I mean, it's so big that it cannot fit within the lungs, you know, and the sternum.
Yeah. Wow. So, but I mean, getting back to the gentleman's question, you know, some people think they're playing it safer if they're using things like Anavar, Primobolan. They think
it's very weak anabolic. Anavar is a strong anabolic.
Okay. So, but I mean, steroids are steroids. You're going to get the LVH from any kind of steroid, aren't you?
Well, it depends the abuse, the time abuse, and the and the dose abuse.
Yeah.
But I know that testosterone is not supposed to do left ventricular hypertrophy. Even if you train hard, pretty hard, if you use 150 milligrams, there's no big deal with it.
Right. But if you're using 1,000 milligrams a week, does it matter whether it's, you know, testosterone or Primobolan? Is it going to have the same effect on LVH?
The anabolic index is responsible for growing the tissues.
Okay.
The androgenic index is responsible of giving strength. So halotestin, trembolone, they give you strength because they're very androgenic, okay?
Yeah.
But also Anavar is with Winstrol and Anadrol are 3 anabolic steroids with very high anabolic index, 330 almost. I think the key is moderation, okay? Yeah. Both in dosages and in endurance of the use.
Okay. Next question is, what's your opinion in general about Meldonium as a drug? I've never heard of Meldonium. It sounds like it's radioactive. What's your opinion on using it for strength sports such as powerlifting? Is it worth it? What are the dosages? Does it need to be used with AAS? Meldonium. What is Meldonium?
Yeah, Meldonium is a drug that is supposed to be vasodilator. That's like Vastarel the previous time. It's supposed to improve blood supply to the coronary arteries of the myocardium and give more mass supply to the heart, oxygen supply to the heart. It comes in 500 milligrams vials, Okay, and it's supposed to be produced in the Eastern Bloc countries. Maria Sharapova, the tennis player, was using this a long time, and she was busted with this, but it came on the table after the January 1st. Before that, in the European Games of Baku, I don't know, it was widely used, okay, but it's out of the question for the strength sport. It's supposed to be for the endurance sports because it mimics the carniting effect. So the entrance of the free fatty acids into the mitochondrium for the beta oxidation and the oxygen supply and the oxidation, the aerobic oxidation of glucose. So it does not work with weightlifting or bodybuilding, okay? So you need stamina and endurance for Meldonium. Okay, and oxygen supply to the heart under hypoxic conditions, okay? So this guy, I think he does weightlifting, so there's no need to use Meldonium. Okay, unless he does a sport that encloses also endurance, like boxing. Boxing is also 50%, yes. Tennis, of course, is also endurance. Yes.
Okay, so all you meatheads out there, you don't need to get Meldonium. No good for you. Okay, last question, and we got some metric system here, so you should know this. I don't understand the metric system. I have a female friend. She's 32 years old, 52 kilograms, 167 centimeters, 8 years of training, started HGH, Geriostim, Aquapen, 2 IUs a day just 1 week ago. She does 1 IU in the morning before her cardio, 1 IU after weight training before cardio. She gained 6 kilograms of water weight during this week. Any advice? Thank you. That's a lot of water weight for 1 week.
That's a lot of water weight and for a growth hormone of 2 IUs a day.
That's some great GH.
Therefore, I suggest him to use a pregnancy test and see if this is HG.
Oh, it's HG. I thought you were going to say to see if she was pregnant.
No. As Dr. O, you had the discussion and about the growth hormone, and if you pee on a stick, on a paper stick for giving pregnant, if your growth hormone is faked with HCG, and of course the amount of cash is much different, then you get robbed, and this is of course HCG, all right?
Yep.
Another way to clarify and to detect if it's a legitimate the growth hormone, you have to evaluate the IGF-1. All right, they're supposed to boost and go super high. Even with 4 IUs. Now I don't know if this woman also uses gear, anabolic steroids, along with for this kind of water retention. And 6 kilograms is a lot, man. It's a lot.
It's
so
like 15
I guess
pounds of water.
Maybe she uses gear along with HCG. I don't know what her diet is.
Just a quick question. She's got this Geriostim. I'm not familiar with that brand, but
this is also it sounds Chinese.
I mean, it says pen. I assume I guess it's coming in the pens like some legitimate pharmacy.
Yes, of course, but I never heard of this brand.
No, you never
personally, I was using Genotropin, Serostim, Humatrop, Sizen. These are the official brands.
Those are the big 4 real brands, right?
Yeah, and the Chinese stuff mainly it's underdosed, and if not HCG.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible to think that, but it's so much cheaper, but that's probably why it's so cheap, because you're never really getting what you think you're getting.
Yes, it sounds very strange. 6 kilograms of body weight in water retention within a week. Come on.
Maybe she is pregnant. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe she's been hitting the Chinese buffet. Hard to say, sir. You didn't give us enough information, but we gave it our best. Doctor, that is all our questions for this week. Please, everybody, on the YouTube comments below these videos, leave your questions. We love getting good questions. So please leave them in the comments right here. We will get to them. We can't promise to answer all of them, but we will answer the good ones. So hopefully you'll give us some good questions. Dr. Touliatos, thank you for taking the time again. I want to encourage everyone one more time to get the book, Bodybuilding, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, available on his website, gtoul.com, gtoul.com, also available on amazon.com. And you can see his work every month in the pages of Muscular Development Magazine. Thanks everybody for watching. Dr. George Touliatos, thank you so much for providing this service, medical knowledge and expertise.
If anybody comes to Vegas, they can meet us both.
That's right, yeah. Dr. Touliatos has already got his trip booked for the Olympia, which is smart. You guys who have not done it yet, you better get your hotel reservations like now, because that stuff sells out so fast.
And tickets as well, yes.
Tickets as well. It's going to be a good one because I think Phil Heath is coming back.
Yeah. He keeps it very secret and he's silent.
If I was a gambling man, Phil's coming back this year. I would bet on it. So it's going to be a good one. I'd like to see him come back and get number 8. No offense to Sean or anybody else, but I like comebacks. So.
Well, I believe he deserved it last year, apart from the midsection.
Yeah.
It was much more hardcore.
I mean,
maybe his glutes, he was a bit off, but
no, he posted a lot of pictures. His condition was perfect.
His muscularity was at his best ever.
Yeah, he had details everywhere. It's just the abdominal area, the midsection was the one area. So,
but anyway, come on, Ronnie had a bubble gut. Dorian had a bubble gut. I mean,
Dorian had a torn bicep. I mean,
yeah. If you want size, then this is the freak show. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
And Jay Cutler said something very clever. They said that when he lost to Dexter Jackson, they thought that IFBB was going backwards to the early ages but then he came back and took it. So this is just a hypothesis.
Yeah, the result of one contest that's not a trend. If you started seeing 2, 3, 4 big shows in a row where they were picking,
that's why Arnold convinced Phil to come back.
I don't think even Arnold doesn't need to. Phil wants that title back. He wants it back badly. You know, he was very upset last year, as everybody knows, when he lost that title. He wants it. He loves being Mr. Olympia, and he's a good Mr. Olympia, I think. You know, Phil said we would miss him when he's gone, because everyone was hating on him and talking so much crap.
He has haters, but he has a strong personality because he has two things. He has the physical appearance also. And he's very cultured also. He has diplomas and he can represent. He has a beautiful face, so he can sell to the media, And
he's tweeting every day. I mean, he's out there. He was doing interviews. He puts himself out there, and as Mr. Olympia, you need to do that. You're supposed to represent the sport to the world. And
first was Kai, now it's Phil. There's no much interest. This battle was between Ronnie and Jay.
Yeah.
This keeps the fans alive.
I'd love to see Phil, Kai, and Sean in a big 3-way battle this year.
And Rami, yeah.
Rami too. I don't know if Rami's coming back this year though. That's kind of questionable. Anyway, let's wrap this up. Happy Memorial Day again to everyone in the U.S. and the rest of the world. Happy whatever day it is for you. It's a nice spring day around the world here, and we're happy to share it. So thanks for watching Ask Dr. Testosterone, and we'll see you next time.